Hello and welcome. So this is our fourth game. Yesterday it was a little bit difficult game for us to play. So this is the rapid slow run, rapid fast run. You let me know how you would like this to be categorized. And yeah, I'm going to be explaining my moves, and we are going to be learning more about e4 move and the responses for the black side. Yesterday I've been suffering because the opening was going horribly wrong. But yeah, we will see what happens today. And I would also like to apologize for yesterday, trying to rush into a tournament on another stream. I didn't realize the game will take so long. Okay, so without further ado, let's start the game and have some fun. This is why I think I need my own space, honey, one day. It's okay. It's okay. This is... My lady just entered the room after she said she will leave me to do my things, but yeah.
Okay,
To say the truth, sometimes it doesn't happen like that, but it's okay. I have a view of maybe one day getting the place where I can stream without being disturbed so much. So yeah, we will see. I would also like to apologize for last two streams with the poor sound. I have left my headphones in, and that's what's caused it. So this is the way I like to play against Caro-Kann. I like to play d3, and black even likes to lock their bishop. So that makes things easier for me. There's this little maneuver where the knight wants to go to d3. This knight wants to go to c4. This bishop can be developed as well. I think black is very careful in the development. The truth is, normally this bishop gets exchanged for that bishop, so I might have issue developing this bishop a bit better. But now that knight is on f6, the whole idea is to play f3 to restrict the knight, so the knight will have no place to go. But usually black is more ambitious and tries to push like e5. So that gives us a chance to have a target here. But this wasn't the case. So the question is, can I potentially start kingside attack? Would that be too ambitious? If h5 is played, I guess we want to have some fun. It's a queenless endgame. My king is stuck in the center, but I'm banking on not such a good development for black pieces. It probably doesn't make sense to even try and attack. If the knight goes to b4, do I want to exchange the knight? The likelihood is that I don't want to exchange the knight. The g4 just doesn't make no sense. I don't know what I've done there. But if the knight goes to b4, then maybe I can trade the knight. So So at the moment I won't worry about it. I just don't want that knight to go to c5, so I'll stop the knight from going to c5. Knight b4, I can always swap the knight. Or I don't even actually have to worry about it, because we can trade it this way. And this knight wants to come to c5 anyway. So black is actually a good strategy in terms of how to put their pieces out there. And as such, I have no targets at the moment. Maybe some f5 could be slightly annoying. The g4 move was my mistake. I have to admit that straight away. But if knight c5 is played, I wouldn't mind so much. I'm going to play a3. Well, the knight's sometimes annoying on a4, so I don't know. I don't know. Knight to a3. So this I don't have to worry about so much. b4 I definitely don't want to play. And right now, let's focus on just one thing, which is development. But if knight to a4, knight to a4 is something I don't have to worry about either. Okay, that's fine. I'm thinking, shall I give up the bishop on c4? On d3? If knight c5 comes, this bishop isn't so good, but would I want to give that bishop? So bishop f6 is an obvious move. Knight e5 might be the follow-up eventually. The way to protect that pawn probably be c3, because even though now black cannot play knight c5 because the square is unprotected. They can play knight e5, but I think just simply dropping the bishop here is fine. And black will have difficulty to develop this bishop. So yeah, this is quite useless move to begin with, but it might potentially become okay move. So king to protect the bishop, to get also away from the d file. Knight e5 is expected, but it doesn't do much. We can have the push eventually. So from that point, I'm also feeling like playing bishop d4 could be useful, as with g5 I will be threatening to win the knight. So bishop d4 is one of the options. Bishop f4 is the other option, how to try and win the knight. If any b5 to try and anchor the knight here, then we can play just simply b3. And if a5 with the idea of a4, then I can play a4 myself, and if trading, then I'll anchor the rook on a4. Right now b4 doesn't make sense. This bishop here doesn't look all that great. So I'm going to try and play bishop d4. But bishop d4, knight d7, I don't fancy as much. And also bishop d4, g5, bishop g5, and then I cannot take on e5 for rook takes d2. So if I want to do this somewhat smart, then I think bishop f4 is the way to start. I don't think this bishop here is a good idea, because now you cannot push the pawn, and eventually I can challenge that pawn if need be. Also now if c5, then already g5 is a threat. So these types of positions just somewhat suit me. For one reason, that the black doesn't really get the Caro-Kann that they want. They are likely gonna get something else than they wanted. Now knight c5 is the likely move here. One of the things I can do also is maybe to play bishop c7 and derail that rook a little bit from its square. But I'm gonna start with move h4. Or do I? I'm gonna start with move h4. Just keep continuing the attack, stopping any possible g5s. The knight c5 could be annoying, because then the b4s might be possible, but I think still taking here is gonna be precedent, and then we are, covering too many times this square. Also protecting from knight to d3s. As long as the bishop is protecting the knights, we don't have to worry about knight b3. Anyway, the knight here is taking on b3 himself, so my idea is to play bishop c7, rook c8, bishop to d6, and then I have simple idea of g5, locking the knight, locking the bishop if the rook ever goes back to d8. But then they still have that bishop e5 move. So g5 looks already possible. G5 looks possible, and I'm also feeling like trying to use this bishop c7 and maybe the d file. Because do I need the knight on d2? I do not think I do. But which rook can I move here? If I move this rook, then b4 might be suddenly possible. Where do I want this knight? The knight can go to e3, then g5. My knight doesn't have so many prospects here as well. So right now finding the correct plan would be the thing. How to improve my pieces and where to go. The a4 move looks like a possibility. And I would like to maybe put my knight here. Put my knight forward. So if I play b4, they play knight b6. I can already play a4 as I wanted to. You cannot take because of bishop a6. And then I can push a5. And again, you cannot play knight a4 because of rook takes a4. But b4 does it allow c5. Then I can play a4 again. C takes b4, a takes b5. The bishop probably moves, but then the c3 is a problem. So maybe I can just gently kick this bishop, but then I'm worried about bishop e5. And I cannot play rook d1 whilst the bishop is here, so then again, I'm thinking I'll probably play the bishop on e3 first. There's no calculation behind bishop e3, just I can still play c5, but then maybe a4, c4. I was actually calculating something absolutely wrong here with the c5. So I'll play b4. Oh yeah, I think I know what I calculated. The b4 c5 idea. Rook c8 makes sense. But now it literally feels like I want to play one of the rooks on d1, but I cannot do it just yet. So I'm gonna kick the bishop first. But then again, I still cannot do what I want to do. So maybe I'll go with the a4 plan. c5, a4. Don't know. We will see. I'm undecided like some of the voters. Still feel my position have lots of potential, but I cannot decide like whether to use this file or this file. And lifting the rook just by one square does not help because there's so many pieces in between the rook. And there's still not enough targets in the position. You know, Black played it actually very carefully on the beginning, which is really good. They had this pawn structure that doesn't give any weaknesses. But now there's a chance. There's a chance. And the reason I'm playing g5 now is because then I want to place the rook here to target this knight. But that again does not seem to be the best, most precise moves. Black doesn't really want to take on. Take on g5. I thought this would be almost automatic. Can also play that a5 move and maybe even a5 and just block the queen side a little bit. But now with the rook here, that's always that c5 looming. Babken Vardanyan, 2-3-12. They spend lots of time now on this move. By the way, this fourth game that we play is still the provisional rating. I'm still waiting for more games to go through. Just let me know if there's any content you would like to see, and I'll try and deliver. As you know, I'm posting also lots of shorts. So I think since I'm ambitious, I don't want to trade the bishops. That's one thing I'm sure of. And my feeling is as well, like maybe to try and double the rooks could look actually very threatening to my opponent. So I believe the rook is the safest on h3 square. And we are going to just roll with like the simplest threat in the world, which is the one move mate, rook h8. And let's see what black has to offer. Because right now, where I look at it, you know, maybe the defense is knight f8, rook h1, and knight to g8. But then I'm pushing the pawn to f4, f5, and that defense is going to fall apart real quick. So I'm not going to say that I'm feeling sorry for my opponent, but you know, sometimes even in the now it looks like g4 wasn't as bad as when I was criticizing it earlier. So yeah, this is not the defense. This is not the defense, because the mating threat is still there, and you cannot stop it. I don't think you can stop the mating threat. Just mate in 2. The only thing you can do is to play knight to f8. But then bishop d4 already is like asking for trouble. Apologies, my phone is dying, so I need to charge the phone. Yeah, my opponent couldn't see any more defense, and this particular game, I'll just run you through it real quick. So this is the opening. This is the only opening that I'm not studying. If black plays Caro-Kann, I'm doing very well against all sorts of players with just the d3 line and knight f3 line. This is Leela Zero opening, and black played really solidly here. So I had no targets on the beginning, and I started to worry a little bit about some of my pieces. But when you play f3, it sort of kills this knight. So the knight has to look for some other places. But obviously, as for me, since black didn't play e5, there's not so many targets for me either. So, and they also didn't trade that bishop, which they normally do with bishop g4. So this game was slightly out of ordinary to what I'm used to. Here I had probably no way to avoid trading that bishop. Again, c3 was designed because I could see that knight c5, knight a4 will be coming. So I didn't want to defend this pawn in any other way, so I just pushed the pawn to c3. Again, seeing that knight c5 might be coming, or knight e5 in this case, I just want to have that extra protection of the d square together with the bishop and the king. They're doing like a really good job there. So that's the case. That's what I'm pointing at. And now again, I want to stop any jumps of the knight here. And here I think is where black goes a little bit wrong with developing that bishop. And that's maybe why, you know, Caro-Kann players, they basically play Caro-Kann because they are afraid of the French bishop. And in this game, you can see that this bishop never got a chance. And yeah, I used this opportunity from what I created earlier just to, you know, have the chance to open the file, which happened. And when you look at it, I didn't do anything special. I even lost the right to castle in the opening. But my pieces are now slightly better developed than the black pieces. This bishop is controlling this a pawn, but the h file here just turns decisive real quick. And black resigns. I think the defense, like what I'm threatening, is very simple. Rook h8. So let's say let's give black this some move like this, for example. So I'm threatening rook h7, rook h8, and this is a checkmate. So this is all forced after the reply that I've chosen. So if you try and defend this square, so you can hide on g7, then bishop d4 looks like absolutely crushing. And if nothing else, after f6, you get to win the pawn. The bishop will have to move somewhere. You can even cement the or push that bishop away with the pawn-like move to e5. And then this also still looks almost crushing. But even if it's not, then I mean, like e4, knight e4, knight g5, it all looks bad for black, but it's probably still playable. Let's be honest. I think move like this, maybe you can try and throw the c5 here. So if something like this would happen, this would probably be okay for black still. So black should have found some continuation here still. Yeah, I don't think it's that one-sided as I made it sound, but they couldn't find the proper way to defend. So maybe I could already play b4 here so that c5 doesn't bother me as much. But it seems to be still like black still has a shout in this game. I don't think I can attack here. Yeah, so I think it may have been a premature resignation. Anyway, or is there anything else I can play here? Actually, maybe in this position there might be something like rook h8, king g7, bishop here, f6. That also doesn't seem to work. If takes. I was thinking like rerouting the bishop back here, but it seems to be a little slow. And black will have the potential to save themselves here. But maybe rerouting this knight somewhat into the action might be helpful. But yeah, I think it was probably then little premature resignation from where I'm looking at it now. But it's always good, you know, if you move your pieces around a little bit to see, you know, what would be the best defenses. That way you can learn. Okay, I'll see you at our 5th game tomorrow. And hopefully we are going to push through and get some first rating. I'm excited to see what our first rating is going to be like. You guys take care.